Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar here today. First of all, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever the time zone that you're in right now. Hope everyone is doing well and hope you're excited for today's webinar. Today we'll be mainly giving you a bit of a brief about the Taqaddum Accelerator program, since majority of the people here will be applying, etc. We also have an exciting founders panel by a few of our portfolio founders. And then by the end of the webinar, we'll go into deep dive of a few of the Q&As, etc. Before I go in, allow me to introduce myself. So my name is Mariam Barrada, and I lead the Taqaddum Accelerator program at KAUST. I'm here to tell you a bit more about the Taqaddum Accelerator program and its benefits. I also have my colleagues here with me today, Wasim and Sahel, our background soldiers, I would say, for today's webinar, who will support us with the Q&A and the chat. So we've been running the program for 9 years now, and this is actually going to be our 10th cohort, as we like to say, lucky number 10. The program has went through multiple evolutions over the years, and we are very excited for the new cohort. Later in the session, as I mentioned, we'll be joined by a few founders from our portfolio for a panel discussion where they will share their startup journeys, their experience in Taqaddam, and some of the key lessons that they've learned along the way. We also will be opening the floor for Q&A, so be sure to add your questions in the Q&A section. So if you realize in Zoom, there in the bottom bar, you'll find a Q&A. So make sure to add all of your Q&As there, and if you have like a similar question that you want to add to be answered, etc., be sure to upvote that question for us to address them correctly. A lot of this information that we're mentioning in today is also available on our website, taqaddam.kaust.edu.sa, where we also have answers to our frequently asked questions. But this webinar would give us a chance to address some of the, you could say, more specific application process questions. So if you have any questions around the timeline, what we expect from you, what you could expect from us, this is where we're going to dig deep into it. So with that, let's get right into it. Taqaddam is a 6 month accelerator that runs once a year in partnership between KAUST and SAB. We are industry agnostic and focus on our support on startups that are pre-seed up to Series A. We accept up to 25 companies per cohort. Our focus is Saudi-based startups and internationals expanding into Saudi Arabia. We are aimed to help startups scale their growth mainly. We offer, over the course of 6 months, our startups get access to multiple benefits, which include up to $140,000 in funding. 40,000 is going to be given as a safe note to all accepted startups in the cohort, while the 100K remains non-dilutive, meaning that without equity given at the showcase for the 10 startups selected at the showcase. Access to co-working space in Jeddah to both the founders of the startups and their employees. A supportive community of founders where we have 600 in our portfolio, so that's a huge number. In-kind services such as financial modeling and corporation support and perks, which include discounts or credits with over 65 partners such as AWS, Microsoft, legal and design firms, and much more. We also have a strong network of mentors and experts that supports you in all aspects of your startup, where in the last cohort alone, our startups received over 500 mentorship sessions. We also offer hours and hours of pitch practice and pitch support. As last year alone, we did over 105 sessions of pitch practice with our startups. And of course, introductions to corporates and investors in the region. An example of this was during the showcase for last year. We had 37 investors from 36 funds joining us from Saudi, MENA, and internationally at KAUST, such as Oryx Funds, Sukna Ventures, Nua Capital, 500 Globals, and much more. We also have a growing investor network. So beyond those that join us in the demo day, we have over 80 in our network currently. One of Taqaddam's greatest strengths, I believe, is our mentor network. Founders gain access to over 100 mentors across 25 areas of expertise, including product, go-to-market, fundraising, AI, legal, marketing, and finance. Each startup is paired with a dedicated mentor who provides personalized one-on-one guidance throughout the program. ensuring founders receive the right support at the right stage for their journey. We have been running for 9 years, and over the years, we have supported over 290 startups, out of which 179 are active, who have went on to create over 4,000 in jobs and have collectively raised over 450 million and are valued at $1.68 billion, of course. Now, I would like to share some exciting news from our portfolio from different cohorts, just to give you an idea of what type of companies we've had in the past and a few of their achievements. These are just a few examples of the milestones of our founders that have recently achieved across fundraising, partnerships, product innovation, and international growth. An example, Vitruvian is a health tech startup utilizing AI to improve fertility treatment. This year, they powered Saudi Arabia's first AI-assisted IVF birth, demonstrating truly how deep technology can create real-world healthcare impact. Riwa is a fintech platform helping landlords, tenants manage their digital rent payments and rewards. During the past year, the company secured a seed funding round backed by leading regional investors. Cogna developed AI-powered cybersecurity solutions that automate threat detection and response. The company raised 9.2 million in a Series A to accelerate their global expansion. Aya, a data-driven fashion platform that combines AI with on-demand manufacturing. The company raised 7 million Series A and now serves more than 100,000 customers across the region. A few more examples include Teraxi is a climate tech startup developing innovative soil regenerative solutions for agriculture. It recently raised 3 million to commercialize its technology and scale across Saudi Arabia. Istoria is an AI-powered language learning platform. They were part of Cohort 6, and they've surpassed over 5 million learners worldwide, which is a very impressive number, and it truly demonstrates the global reach startups coming through Taqaddam's ecosystem. Logix is transforming logistics through an on-demand warehousing. The company recently secured 2 million in pre-Series A, with a participation from well-known VCs within the region, such as Sidra Ventures, Noor Nov, and a group of angel investors. Squadio helps companies build and manage high-performing remote software engineering teams. The company recently raised 3 million in a pre-Series A as well. As you can see from all of these examples, every startup's journey is different, but Taqaddam is truly committed to providing founders with support and network and the resources they need to scale and succeed. Now, going into our timeline for the 10th cohort, as most of you might have known or might have seen on social media, our deadline has extended to July 5th, which is in about a week or so. So be sure to submit your application before that deadline. The program is set to start hopefully by Q4 of 2026, so by the end of this year. More details on exact dates will be shared as we come closer. In terms of the Taqaddam cycle, it's usually split amongst 7 phases. I would say in terms of online application, which is phase 1, this is where we are currently. And then we go into phase 2 and 3, which is screening and interviews, which happens over a course of a couple of months. And at each stage, you get notifications of which stage you are in, whether you were able to move on to the next stage or unfortunately not. It is a hybrid program, so we bring the startups in person twice during the program, during the Jumpstart Week, and by the showcase, which is 5 and 7. So I would say Jumpstart Week is earlier into the program, which is the first part of the accelerator, and the showcase, which is the ending of the program. During the accelerator phase, we have multiple specialized workshops on topics such as fundraising, finance, pitching, pricing, growth, marketing, legal, etc. And we usually customize I would say, the content depending on the composition of the cohort itself and where their stages, their industries, etc. In terms of requirements of the program, we mainly look at startups with 2 or more founders. Some of you might be asking, what if I am a solo founder? We usually do exceptions for those who have a team, a full-time team that works with them. So even if you are a solo founders and another employee might not be another founder that owns equity, but they are like at a managerial level and you have like a full support from other employees that you have within the company, and that should be fine. Commitment to the program and the startup. So the more you are full-time at the start, the higher possibility you are in getting accepted. Being part-time does not mean that you will automatically be eliminated, but rather if at least one founder is full-time, that gives you a higher chance. Another thing we look at in terms of that is that when the program starts, I would say by the accelerator phase, you have to be fully committed to the program and not join any other accelerators at the same time. That's one of the main requirements. Also, the startup is expanding into Saudi Arabia, meaning that you're a Saudi startup or is actively going into the Saudi market, and this is where Taqaddam is able to support to help you grow within that market. In terms of what we look for, we mainly look for strong teams that have a complete profile of skills that can take the startup forward. Of course, novel ideas and business models that can potentially scale and grow within the accelerator. I'm going to go into details of evaluation criteria a bit more in the next slide, just to give you a bit details of how we look at our evaluation, how do we select the startups, and what to keep an eye out when you fill the application. So in terms of assessing the startups, we tend to look at 6 main areas. Looking into the team, as I mentioned in the previous slide, we usually like to make sure that you have a diverse team with a wide range of set of skills that are required to help the startups grow and scale. In terms of product, what is your unique value propositions and what makes you stand out from your competitors? If your business model is your business model innovative and scalable? How big or competitive is the market? And what are the expansion plans? How much traction do you have so far? Do you have customer leads, purchasing customers, etc.? In terms of defensibility, does the startup show or demonstrate a suitable competitive advantage with clear barriers to entry that are difficult to replicate, such as technology, IP, unique business model, market position? Keeping in mind that these criteria are just based on your stage, because we do accept startups from pre-seed to Series A, so we do keep the stage in mind. As we are industry agnostic as well, we accept startups from pre-seed to Series A, so as long as you are post MVP, that should be good. We do not have a set of requirements in terms of revenue. A lot of people I've been seeing over emails, do you care about revenue? That's not something that is crucial. You can see from the presentations of previous founders, if you saw on social media or previous pitch days, etc. We've had founders who are pre-revenue, who have just started to launch the product and are just growing interest from their customers, and some that are post-revenue who are already making money and expanding internationally into other markets as well. So it's not a hard rule. It's just the level of the competition out there and how you differentiate yourself among that competition. So with that, this is basically some basic information in terms of Taqaddam. And if I have with me on stage, we can go into the founders panel, and after the founders panel, we can go into further details of Q&As, and we can answer any of the questions that you have on spot with me and my team, and we can get into all of that details. We've covered Taqaddam so far, but rather than just hearing from me, because I feel throughout this webinar I'll speak quite a lot, I think the best way to understand the program is truly to hear directly from the founders who have experienced it firsthand. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Abdullah Al-Umar, the founder and CEO of Thunder, and Bhuvan Batra, the CEO of Bellboy. They'll share their startup journeys, what it was like to go through the Qaddam, the challenges that they faced, the milestones that they've achieved, and their advice to the founders who are considering to apply for Taqaddam Cohort 10. With that, I would like to jump into the discussion and welcome Abdullah and Bhuvan. How are you, gentlemen? Hope everyone is doing very well. I'll stop sharing my screen so we can see your faces. أهلا Abdullah.
يعطيك العافية مريم. How's it going?
Doing
Thank you.
very well.
Hi,
Hi, Bhuvan.
Mariam. Great
How
to
are you
see
doing
you. Thank
today?
you so much. All good, all good. I hope you're doing well as well.
Doing very well. Thank you very much for joining us here
Amazing.
today. We're very excited for the panel,
Absolutely.
getting to know you more, both on a personal level and getting to know the startup a bit more. So, as I like to start, let's start with a brief introducing yourself and your startup. Bhuvan, would like to start with you.
Sure. My name is Bhuvan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bellboy. What we essentially do is we create AI employees for hospitality. Think of front desk AI, concierge AI, reservations AI, everything handled by us across all channels, including voice, WhatsApp, email, 24/7, 60 plus languages. We're already live with a few clients across the GCC, including some anchor clients such as Radisson, Rotana, and now we are very, very actively expanding in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Bhuvan. Abdullah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Abdullah Al-Umar. I'm the founder and CEO of Thunder. We're a marketing measurement app that essentially tell businesses where every sale come from exactly, and we measure every touch point. So the web is fragmented. Our job is to tell businesses where their marketing spend is going and how much is getting out. It's a fairly complex problem to solve. We launched a year and a half ago. We have over 200 users now. We serve one of the biggest brands in the Middle East currently, and we're the only solution in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. So that's essentially what we do.
Perfect. So we kind of got a brief of what you guys are doing, but when I want to dig deeper in terms of, so you started the company, for example, Abdullah, you started a year and a half ago. Bhuvan, when did you start?
It's been close to two years, yeah.
2 years. So all of you, both of you have been doing it for more than 2 years or over a year. So you've gone through it quite a lot. But I want to go to the what inspired you to build that company in actuality. So we always see startups starting companies, but not understanding the reason of starting that company. So we understand that Bhuvan, you're working with hotels, you're helping automate things. Abdullah, you're focusing on the fragmented marketing campaigns, etc. So I want to know what inspired you to actually start your companies and grow it further. Who would like to start first?
Want to go ahead and move on?
Sure. Yeah, I think in my previous job, I was working in a fintech which involved a lot of travels. And that's when I realized that a lot of things when it comes to the guest experience were done in a very old school way and very fragmented, especially when it comes to small things such as room service. So I had one particular experience where I had to just get some water bottles late in the night, and that itself took three follow-ups, right? So I realized that this is completely broken. And that's exactly what we built to solve that how we can build an AI layer to handle all the communication so that staff can focus on the actual hospitality. And yeah, I think the inspiration also came when we started speaking to the hotel that how far behind hotels are operationally and technologically compared to other service industries, despite being in the business of experience. So that's how it all started.
So when you started, was it always in mind that you wanted to do an AI solution, or did you have anything else in mind and then it pivoted into the AI solution?
We actually started focusing initially on short-term rentals. So we were still in the realms of hospitality. We were still in the realms of solving for the guest experience. AI just I look at always AI as the channel or the means to achieve that, and that's what basically we're being doing. And post the short-term experience, because we realized it's a very highly regulated market. When we started piloting the same product across hotels, that's where I would say the eureka moment came in.
Okay, nice. Abdullah, what about Thunder? What inspired you to begin your solution?
So absolutely. So I used to have a previous business, which was a marketing consultancy, where we essentially work with businesses where we make marketing decisions based on data, and we always come back to the same point, which is the data is not accurate. There were some essential like tools and apps that sort of help you clean up the data, but it was always not like what we wanted. Um, until me and my co-founder sat down and were like, okay, what if we actually build something that scratch our own itch like one way or another? And we essentially weren't planning on like kind of going like full app. We just kind of wanted something for our clients. And once we sat down and like decided to build the product, we were like, okay, what if we actually build something that everybody can use? And that's sort of how like Thunder was born. We launched a year and a half ago, but we were building the product for 2 years before that. So essentially now we're coming on 3.5 years because we were like, okay, we're looking at the solutions currently in the market. They're not okay, they satisfy maybe like 50% of what we need, but there's always this gap that we're there's like this gap of data that we cannot really fulfill. So that sort of like came into existence with Thunder. We're like, okay, let's just satisfy every problem and solve all problems and other people and just make a holistic product like that way, if that makes sense.
I like what you mentioned that it actually took 2 years in the making for you to launch Thunder before you fully operate it. Because a lot of, especially early stage startup things that I want to get a startup going, and then I'm going to start this month, and next month I'll be launching. So I want to hear more about how did Thunder come up. So walk me through the process of what happened over the course of these 2 years. What were some ups and downs that occurred? Uh, I want to hear more from that story.
Yeah, sure. So like I mean I know it's like you said, like it's very tempting now. You just log into Twitter, you see like every company go into like 100 million ARR within 2 months and you feel like a loser one way or another, but that's not really the reality. You're looking at like anomalies in data. Take it from a guy who looked at like a ton of data. So it's more of a if you understand a problem very deeply, and you really want to go from first principles and build your own thing, it's going to be a long journey, but it should be rewarding at the end. If you're just going to be another rapper, great, you can launch something, especially now with the AI tools, like within a couple hours. But how good is it? Like you see a lot of people be like, hey, I just cloned like Instagram within 2 hours, like using Replit or something. Okay, that's great. But like, do you have the same traction? No, obviously not. Like great like products or great startups like begins like through a very deliberate building process. And there were, like I said, like the before the 2 years, like we literally began building in January 2023. We were tempted of actually building a like an internal tool for our client because, like I said, we used to have a marketing consultancy. But I sat down with my co-founder. We're like, no, actually, let's just shut down this business. Okay, it's paying us money. Okay, but it's not really what we essentially need. And that decision was very hard to live. Something that is working. It's not like a huge success, but it's also depending on your, like your personality one way or another. It's like an agency. But it was very, like I said, it was very like tough few 2 years, but we learned a lot. Like we built our system from scratch. We're not using another company, and that's really gave us a huge advantage because you you have something that you built yourself. You know it, every like sort of like line of code and stuff like that. There are some frustrating moments, but there is also a lot of like a lot of really rewarding like things that we built. And once you launch, you have this like kind of feeling where you're okay, you built something for 2 years, now it's up to the marketing, you consistently get feedback. So it's like I said, there are like many insights that we got from like those 2 years, but we learned a lot, to be honest. We learned a lot for sure.
Exactly. The people like to say, good things come with time. And what we've seen always, especially with the boom in AI, as you mentioned, a lot of things grow, a lot of startups grow very fast, but end up dying very fast and closing even 1 month from launching, which is why it's really crucial that you take the time to build something that matters, which goes into the criteria that we look into in terms of you're building a good business model that is scalable. You're looking into that. You're building something that is defensible, that has good, I would say, bases, so you can build on it and grow and expand rather than just building on something that people want for a small period of time and then it will die after a couple of months. So this is a very good transition into the next question, which is I want to hear from both of you in terms of some of the lessons learned that you've done over the last couple of years that you worked on. I know, Bhuvan, you're actually based in the UAE and you're expanding into Saudi and other regions within GCC, while Abdullah, you are actually locally grown within Saudi. So I want to hear both perspectives from a local startup and a startup's expanding into Saudi. What are some lessons that have you faced or lessons that you've learned that helped shape your entrepreneurship journey? Let's
Sure.
start with
Why don't you
Bhuvan.
go ahead?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. I think I would probably segregate into these two verticals. One was, I think, the biggest defining moment for us was the kind of industry which we sell it to is hospitality by its nature runs purely on relationships. And I think when we launched with the first hotel, we realized that uh, the product is actually never the product which we build is never the product which the customer actually needs. And we thought we were selling efficiency, but what actually hotels wanted was reliability, right?
Yeah.
And especially because we were in that domain, there was a massive friction initially for them to trust AI, right? They didn't want to even take a single chance where they could face a scenario where the AI would embarrass them in front of a guest. So that shifted how we basically thought about onboarding, support, even including the sales pitch, right? So that was one. And second, I think when we started early on with Saudi, I think we realized that Saudi runs purely on ground relationships. You can not close a client with just having Zoom meetings and whatnot. So we also realized that localization goes very, very deeper than just the language. So Arabic, for example, is very different in Saudi versus in UAE, etc., and in tone, formality, and whatnot. So I think what we realized was that you need someone who understands the market, who can actually work on ground. You need a local champion, if not, even if it's not officially. And I think that's where we understood that instead of treating Saudi as a market entry, you need to actually treat it as a second home market that deserves the same depth of commitment as your first. So yeah.
That 100, well said, truly. Abdullah.
Yeah, I think great point, like Poovan, like I would echo the same point. Like we were like really surprised by like we dealt with clients from all over the world, like in my previous like marketing consultancy, and like but like it was the first time actually dealing with you with real users here in Saudi, and like the culture plays a big part. Sometimes you gotta understand like the person in front of you in order to quote unquote make a deal. Like I will give you an example that is like was really like kind of funny like to us. Like we used to have like sometimes like small brands like come to us and they needed like a discount just to prove like good faith on your end. They don't need like the 10% discount. They just want to say like, okay, well, you say you want to do business, right? Just give us like a 10% discount. It's like it's I think $20 like USD or whatever. And we're like, okay, sure, there you go. And they're like, okay, great. Like we got the discount from these guys. Like we know like the Thunder team, so they're good. They like to take care of their people. And I'm like, okay. And people surprisingly respond to like small matters like this. Even if you deal with, I mean, I'm sure everyone on this call like have different like user segments, whether it's high ticket or small tickets or consumers or B2B, whatever it is. But there's also a scope of country. Like you, even the way like we sat down with huge brands and small brands and people who are just starting and they all kind of operate a lot differently than you expect. So the biggest learning curve was like, okay, how do we, uh, as Saudi founders, deal with like in a business like effective way with people here, and like in order for us to make like to in order for us and them just to make a win essentially. So that was like a really crucial thing, I would say, and really a learning thing. And it took a while to kind of adapt because the business norm are completely different. But it was rewarding at the end for sure.
So both of you mentioned a point about customization and growing to different markets. For example, Vaughn, you talked about dialects. Abdullah, you talked about when you customized your platform for different industries, different countries, etc. Which is quite interesting because a lot of people think that some people, not I wouldn't say a lot, some people think that it's truly one size fits all, which is not the case for a lot of startups. Which is why when you are building a company, it's crucial that you understand what the next steps look like and understand when you're building the basics of the startup itself, uh, how you're able to customize it moving forward, with doing the proper research and the proper partners, etc. I want to hear from you guys, especially in terms of growing, in terms of entering new markets, possibly or new customer segments. Uh, if there's a story of you entered into a conversation and you realized, this might not be the best thing for you. I want to hear if there's a story that came up, if there's a situation that you entered that there's something you would do differently. So, was there any scenario that happened, so people can hear and listen?
think one of our early ons, we had a hotel. It wasn't a massive group, small chain of hotels, and I think when we started engaging with them, everything worked out fine, and they were like, "Okay, this is good to start." But the moment we actually started the onboarding discussions, we realized that they were constantly asking for so many changes in the product that, in all honesty, we realized that we are just creating a new product just to serve this client, right? And we actually went ahead and I think almost probably did 30-40% of the changes. And that's where we realized that actually, you know what? We are just creating a new product, just serving this client. We're not a tech agency. We have a core product, which we know for a fact serves the core of hospitality because we had active clients back then. And I think that was, and eventually, basically, we decided to say no to that contract. So turning down revenue, whatever it is always a very, very difficult call. But I think in hindsight, we definitely don't regret it because we were then probably not working as a product company, but rather a tech agency in some aspect. So yeah,
Because this goes back to understanding who your actual customers are. Because these
correct.
one-time contracts, as you said, are very attractive when you see, okay, this is a great, it's a client, especially if you're earlier on, it's one of your biggest
Exactly.
clients, etc. So
Yeah.
it's exciting, and then you realize, you know what? I'm just creating a one-type product or a one-type solution that is going to be utilized by only this company, and it's not fits with my startup at all, and it's not going to make
Correct.
it grow
Correct.
beyond that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
100%, 100%.
yeah, that's something that
Yeah.
a lot of people mix up throughout that process. Abdullah, anything from your end?
Okay, so if I can sort of like bring a story where customization went wrong, it would be our model was always like talk to users and try to like kind of reverse engineer what they need and build it. And I remember we had a user that requested a feature and he told us literally how to build it. Like, okay, I need this button and this like screen and whatnot. And we ran it by a few users, and everybody sort of agreed. And we built the feature. We're like, okay, great. We don't have to do anything. We just build the feature. And nobody wanted to use it once it came out because it turned out that users are horrible product designers, but they're great at telling you the pain points. So we kind of like got that like in reverse because it's such a counterintuitive thing to like kind of think about because this person is literally facing the problem. They need this problem to be solved, but do not listen to their proposed like solution. That's your job as a founder. So we kind of learned that like later because like I said, we done that several times and it kind of failed. But once we like took down their problem and just kind of like really reverse engineer like, okay, what are the possible scenarios that we can solve this particular problem for them? That turned out to be way better uh like um like a product build for us. Because like I said, their users are great, like kind of North Star for you to figure out like how to build your product, what sort of problems you need to tackle, but do not listen to them on really technically how to like kind of solve it. So that was like a really good insight that we had like while building Thunder, and especially in the early days.
I
So
think
it's true. Yeah, go
just
ahead,
to sorry
Abdullah.
add on to that as well, I read a great quote which is exactly what Abdullah is saying, that a lot of the business owners and decision makers are great at voicing out symptoms and not the actual pain points. And I think what Abdullah was saying, that our role as founders is actually to diagnose the pain points and not mistake and make solutions to solve for the symptoms.
The tricky
Don't,
thing is that like it's such a logical like they give you like a
Yeah.
full hypothesis. Like, it sounds
yeah.
like so convincing, and they tell you
Yeah.
confidently this will. I know like 20 other people that are facing the same problem. You're like, okay, we'll build it, but it's always just
It
kind
doesn't
of
work. Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
I think it all goes back to asking the right questions, which is the basics of starting the company. Especially if you, for example, if you just started the company and you started building like the MVP and you're going to customers and like, I have this solution. What do you guys think about it? Everyone is going to say,
Yeah.
yes, this is amazing. It's going to solve problems 100%. When you actually go ahead and launch it, you realize no one is buying it because you didn't understand the actual problem. So going to your customers and asking, as you mentioned, don't ask them about answers, but rather ask them about their journeys, ask them about what does their day-to-day activities look like, etc. So you can help guide your product and customize it depending on their need rather than just what they're saying, because a lot of times people don't actually know. They just know they have a problem.
That's
What the
true.
core of the problem is they don't know. So this is where I think a lot of the brainstorming and a lot of conversation startups really need to go into when they talk to their customers.
Or like if you like show your like an early version of your product and you tell them like, hey, what do you think of this? They're like, it's great. You want to buy it? No. So it's like,
No.
oh, what is
Exactly.
great about it then? You know, so it's
Exactly.
such a counterintuitive thing. But yeah.
Because no one is going to say it to your face, this is a bad product. Again,
Yeah,
people,
that's true. That's very true.
no one's going to say it to your face. They're
Yeah.
they're just not going to buy it in the end. They're going to say amazing, they're going to clap, they're going to then when it comes to actual money and closing contracts,
Yeah.
that doesn't end up closing and the pipeline just vanishes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And that gives us to our other point, which is basically entrepreneurship is really a straight path. With today's rapidly changing environment, there's a lot of changes in terms of fundraising conditions, economic shifts, as you know, with what's happening now, with the geopolitical uncertainty. I want to hear from you guys on how do you make decisions, how do you keep your team focused during uncertain times, and how do you manage all of that?
Sure.
No, I was just gonna say that I think for us, I think we still like to anchor on things which are not changing regardless of the fundraising conditions or the geopolitical noise. I think for us, it was very clear going back to first principle that hotels still need to serve the guests. Yes, the occupancy rates have dropped, but even if you have 20 guests or 30 guests staying in your 300 room property, the guests still expect fast responses. The labor costs are still rising. And I think when everything feels more uncertain, we still come back to the unit economics and the problem statement. And if the problem is still real and a solution still works, we basically keep moving. And for the team, we try to do the same, that we try to create more clarity on the things that we can control, which is product, customer success, and the next milestone, and pretty much deprioritize everything else.
100%. Abdullah.
Yeah, so I think it's like as an entrepreneur, you're essentially incentivized to be optimistic, where you're making a bet where other people say like things will not work. So like
Yeah.
your actions dictates like how optimistic you are. So like, but if you look at history, there's people are always saying this is a bad time. Like there's always like a bad time. Like if you go back to 2008, it was the worst time to start a company. If you go back to like the dot-com bubble, it was like kind of like just when it popped, like it was the worst time to start a company back then. I don't disagree that there are better times than the others, but like if you want like the climate to be perfect, you will never like sort of start like one way or another. But if you look down at history, like about when is the best time to actually start a company, it's never been better than today. Because it's now way cheaper to start a company. You have access to a lot more tool. You can be a lot more resourceful. So distractions will never end. And that's like sort of what like differentiate like really good founders from quote unquote not successful or bad founders is that if you can sort of focus on your vision and you really go after what you want and you understand a problem very deeply and solve it, then it shouldn't really be any different than any other time. Like I said, there are going to be like, some times that are better than others, but over the long terms, it's always the economy will always like kind of like tank one way or another. There's always going to be like some geopolitical problems. So it's like if you're going to find an excuse, you're never gonna run out, one way or another. But at the end of the day, like I said, as a founder, your reward is to be more optimistic because your bet is that things will get better while other people just tell you don't. So you're not an investor where you bet on like things kind of going bad. But yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to basically there is never going to be a right time. There's always going to be ups and downs no matter what. I truly believe sometimes you're going to just have peaks during sales, fundraising, and sometimes you're going to have things that are going to be slowing down. Things never stop. I truly believe that things never stop and things move forward. We realized that during COVID when things slowed down, but it peaked right after a few months later. Now, during the scenario, you can see a few months things slow down, then things are going up to speed again after a couple of months only. So it's truly just about you managing. I would say the most important part maybe is your runway and trying to figure out how to move things around, but not shutting things down, but rather slowing down and moving forward some aspects rather than completely putting everything to a full stop. And that's something that's quite crucial. And that's why it's important to have a very strong team behind you. So you're able to actually go back to your team, you're able to try to figure out how to move things around, how to manage this or mitigate this type of slowdown moving forward. And there's a great book around it called that I've read recently called The Hard Things About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, which talks about uncertainty, talks about the hardships of entrepreneurship and having a business and dealing with employees, etc. Having to let go, having to accelerate, having to deal with booms, having to deal with slowdowns. And I highly recommend it to everyone if you're looking for a great book, especially during these times, because you can learn quite a lot about the different scenarios that he faced, which are quite interesting. Perfect. Now, it's been a great conversation, so I'll start to go into a bit more details of more questions, and I want to go mainly into expanding into Saudi Arabia for you, Bhuvan. I know you've been actively looking into Saudi Arabia for almost a year now. I wanted to hear more about what made you look at Saudi Arabia, what motivated you to expand into the market, and what the opportunities do you see in the region at the moment?
Yeah, I think the numbers are very hard to ignore when it comes to Saudi Arabia. I think even when the during the current Middle East conflict, Saudi Arabia, when it comes to hospitality, we could see that the domestic tourism reached a double-digit growth for the first time ever. And I think that itself shows you how resilient the whole market is. And then obviously the future plans, the Vision 2030 Expo coming up and whatnot. And with so many hotels coming up, and the fact that right now Saudi has the largest hotel pipeline in the world, I think was the biggest signal for us to start and focusing on Saudi, as I said, as a very, very, very serious market. And that's exactly what basically motivated us. And I think the way I look at it is now that UAE has basically given us the playbook, and Saudi is where we scale things up.
So, in terms of expansion, I want to
Hmm.
hear from you as well. What advice would you give founders who are looking into the market? So they all see the numbers, they all see the hype around the region, they all see
Yeah,
the big giga projects that are happening, etc. But what advice would you give them before they go into expanding into Saudi Arabia?
Abdullah, wanna take that up?
Sorry, could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, so we want to hear a bit of advice to some of the founders that are looking into expanding into Saudi Arabia, that are looking at the hype, that are looking at all the giga projects that are happening. What are some advice would you give to someone looking at the region and looking to expand actively moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's like branching to a new segment that is completely different and has like a really yeah, a really great economy. So if you imagine if you, I mean, I'm looking at it from perspective of ads. I don't know if anybody will like run ads here, but like if you run an ad and you basically, and after a while it just kind of gets tiring and it balances out and that doesn't really give you much returns. The logical thing to do as somebody who runs ads to branch to a new audience and it will explode. That's like marketing 101. So just by doing that, like if you have a product that makes sense for you to expand to the kingdom, it's definitely will be a great decision because, like I said, you have like a lot of small and medium sized businesses and even enterprise. You have consumer. Like I think, well, like I don't want to throw statistics here because I don't really know. Like I haven't run this through, but just by looking at the purchase power based on what we're tracking now, because essentially we track like e-commerce purchases, you see an insane amount of like money just kind of being poured into like different businesses. So and I've seen like the volume in the US and I've seen the volume here, and it's lower than the US for sure, but it's still very, very high if you look at it per capita. So I think, like I said, you're incentivized to expand to Saudi. It really depends again on the product and like the market and everything else. But based on like talking to other founders, especially in the Taqaddum cohort, like they just told me about other like industries that I wasn't even aware that are pretty popular like in Saudi. So I don't think you can go wrong just doing business here. So uh, if we weren't doing business here, I would definitely look into it and expand to the kingdom because it's gonna benefit us eventually for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, I
Especially.
think Yeah, I think what also helps is to, in some way, if you can find yourself a local champion who can basically help you find your first customer, whether it's a partner, whether it's a advisor, or anyone who's sort of well connected. I think you need someone who understands how actually things work on ground, especially when it comes to Saudi, and not just officially, but I think also culturally. For example, Saudi is all about building relationships in person, right? As I said. And I think that's what really, really helps to actually gauge the market rather than just sitting elsewhere and thinking that you can crack the market. I think that's where Saudi operates very, very differently. And it's very, very relationship heavy.
Yeah, and it's also a market that is like growing. It's not like sort of like kind of mature like yeah that you look at the US. Like I think 15 years ago, like online purchase was not a thing. But
Yeah.
Yep.
just in the past like a year and a half, we tracked over half a billion real just in sales from people who are just kind of purchasing inside, and it's very, very small sample like that we're tracking. So
Mm.
like I said, you're looking at emerging markets that are moving very, very fast, and you can't really ignore like what's happening here. So I mean, the numbers, like I said, speak for themselves for sure.
Yeah.
Very true.
Another point is you've mentioned it both previously is that it is an attractive market, but also you also need to spend some time in the region before actively expanding. You need to talk to potential customers, you need to talk to potential clients here in person, because we've realized that in the past is that the region still enjoys face-to-face talking to founders, talking
Yep.
to the company, talking to all of that. So I would truly spend some time in the region before actively doing the process of expanding and going through the MISA incorporation and all of that. Spend some time in the region, talk to potential clients, talk to other customers, be active within when there's any type of corporate events or conferences, etc. That would help you get a better understanding of the region and whether it is the correct region for you or not. That's something quite crucial to do before actually
Very true.
spending too much money into the expansion and then realizing, you know what, maybe it's not the right time nor the region at the moment for me.
Very
Yeah,
true.
and
Very true.
Latam is like a great like that's sort of like kind of like a nice segue into it. Like Taqaddam is like a great experience to actually get the real experience of Saudi. Like if I was in Saudi, I was born and raised here. So like if I was in Saudi and you dropped me here and you're like, okay, figure things out, I would have
Yeah.
no idea where to start. I don't know anybody. And like I would totally, but if you go like through a program like Taqaddam, you have no idea how much work is just being lifted off you, and like the type of people that you connect with, the other founders, the team, is such a, like I said, it's you're not positive like no matter how like no matter how much you look at it. So that's also a really great solution for this problem.
Yeah, I think
I love how you took the segue for me, Abdullah, because this is exactly where I was going after. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Move on. You were
no,
saying.
I was going to say the same thing. I think Takadam has so much to offer that I think there's so much value to it that I also, when I look back, I'm like, oh, there's so much more I could have done, right? So that's the immense power of the Kadam in terms of mentorship and whatnot. And yeah, like Abdullah said, that's where it literally helps you out to figure out your Saudi move.
So both of you talked about how Taqaddam was supportive and how it helped you grow within the region. Already, Abdullah, you're in the region, it helped you grow as a startup. Move on, helping you understand the region a bit more and getting mentorship. But I want to hear from you, what do you think were the aspects of the program that created the most value for your company? And if you could have done things differently, would you say is an opportunity that you think other potential applicants or startups that join the program need to keep an eye on and actually spend more time on? So it's kind of a two-part question.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like every like company is unique in that regard. Like Puvon company is a lot different than mine, and but both like want to be directionally kind of like win ultimately. So like the weaknesses or the strengths that we have is going to be different than Puvan. So like look at like where you sort of need help, but essentially there are like like some corners that everybody kind of like need help in. Like, you know, if you're fundraising, for example, there's a whole part of like Taqaddam team that just kind of like help you in that regard, starting from like the pitching clinic to the uh demo day to investor introductions. Like I know like so, that some like founders kind of like, you know, want to pat themselves to like, you know, I raise money like, you know, by like through my connections and whatever. But anybody that raised money before, like, no, it's essentially you need to run volume. And just the fact that you are doing demo day in Taqaddam, that's such a uh so this has like so much value because you would not get like a lot of different investors in like one area throughout the region that are pre-qualified by Taqaddam in just kind of in one setting. And that just shortcuts so much like effort instead of chasing investors down on LinkedIn and just kind of spamming them and whatever, or just kind of applying through a VC's website just like you're applying for a job. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that like there are efficient ways to do things. That just one area out of the many things that we benefited through Taqaddam. And like I said, everybody's like on the Taqaddam team is incentivized to like help you win. Whether, like I said, it's through fundraising, the networking, networking with other like startups, like the mentors, legal stuff. If you're an international startup, like, okay, how do you gonna even expand in Saudi? They're just, as you all know, like running a company is like like a requires infinite amount of work. And no matter how good or how skilled you are, you're always gonna need more, and you need to kind of like shortcut that into a lot more efficient ways. So yeah.
We like to call ourselves, again, I'm going to give us a bit of a pat on the back. We like to call ourselves the sidekicks of startups. So basically, there's the superheroes, and we're your sidekicks. We're here to support you throughout the journey and actually open the doors and that you take the conversation forward. We're basically just door openers. Majority of the work is on the startup itself. And you will see that when you go through the program that we do a bit of hand holding, but not too much. A lot of that, the things that we do is basically guidance, and it's all depends on the startup's efforts and how much they actually want to take forward throughout the program. Would like to hear from you, Bhuvan.
I think uh, the Kadam gives you values in ways also you don't see them coming, right? So for example, so first is obviously the kind of exposure it brings from the demo day to the VCs. I think that itself, what Abdullah was saying, is such a powerful thing. Having the key decision makers, partners of all the major VCs of the region in one room with all their attention with on you, that is a very, very, very rare thing, right? And we like Bellboy, we have done our share of different programs and pitch events and whatnot. And I can confidently say that that does not happen anywhere else, right? Across the whole region. And I think second is the kind of network it brings when it comes to the mentors and experts, and that value is so immense, and it helps you for life. Like the sessions which we have had when it comes to pitching are still has compounded so much that it still makes us sort of win certain pitch events, right? And I think lastly is the whole founder community, the kind of time you spend in person. I think you literally come out of that room with friendships and relationships built for life. And I think the combination of all three, obviously, with all the hard work you guys do at the Kadam, it's very, very exceptional. I have not seen that anywhere else across the whole region, to be very honest.
Yeah, and also
I'm
just on like one more point, like you just remind me of something, Poovan. Like sometimes like because of the environment, like sometimes like unexpected things like sort of like happen. Like I'll give you guys an example. Like we met like another company in the cohort, and potentially we might do a partnership with them because we're serving the same end users. Regardless of this happened or not, we didn't plan on doing this. Neither Taqaddam team, but because the environment of Taqaddam
Yeah.
team like created, this was like this came into fruition. So like I said, if you take a chance on this, like you would definitely come out like net positive, like no matter way like you look at it. So yeah.
Because the network or the ecosystem is truly about the network in terms of fellow co-founders, the fellow startups, in terms of the mentors. It is a still early stage ecosystem within the region. So I truly believe it's either you're in it or you're not. So this is one of the gateways that gets you up and going, I would say. In terms of the pitch practice, I'm sure both of you were not feeling the benefit of it while you were going through the hours and hours of pitch practice and the multiple amendments and the multiple feedback in the directions. I'm sure on spot you were like, oh my God, how much time am I gonna do more pitching? How many times am I gonna edit the slide? And then you realize, you know what? I'm actually finally comfortable with the pitch that I've reached after these hours of pitch practice and the effort that I've put. And both of you did an amazing job during your pitch day, during the investor demo day.
Thank you. Yeah,
Perfect.
like
Thank
I
you.
was hearing the pitch in my sleep. I just like don't want to like say it.
No, so,
Exactly.
no, yeah, very interesting, right? We had this, we were a part of this initiative, Mohammed bin Rashid Innovation Fund by the UAE government. They had this demo day pitch event, and it was almost 2 weeks back, and I copy paste did the same pitch, which I was very much trained for, and we actually ended up winning the best pitch award, right? And that's
Wow.
where you look back, and that's where you connect the dots, and everything pays you back in ways you don't even expect.
Yes. And you realize the building blocks where it ended up happening and where you ended up reaching. Wonderful.
Exactly.
I think if we continue, we're going to reach until 6 p.m. having this conversation. It was truly a pleasure having you both. Before I let you go, I want to guys to give one piece of advice to the following people who are here listening to the webinar. What piece of advice do you give them in terms of opening a startup or in their startup journey that are just growing, expanding, etc.? I would like to hear from both of you. Let's start alphabetically. Let's go with Abdullah.
Sure. So everyone, like I mentioned before, is like have like a unique path, and each startup or company have like their own unique path. But if I had to pick like one advice, I would say be an expert in a problem and try to solve it like with all the skill and effort that you have. Don't chase shortcuts, because now like in the age that we live in, like it's very tempting to like kind of like just create another wrapper or like do something, because you can make money, you're gonna be also killed very easily. But I would say, like I said, if you're an expert in a problem and you solve it deeply and you talk to users, and iterate, then like I said, you pretty much have a framework to go forward. There's obviously a lot more nuance, but if I just had to pick one advice instead of just kind of going to 6 p.m. But yeah, I'm short on time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Abdullah. Move on.
I think probably more relevant for folks just sort of starting out in the early stage. But I think what matters the most is rather than the idea, in my opinion, has also been the co-founders. I think I mean, it's literally like like you're getting married to someone else. You spend so much time with them, and I think. The people you build with, I think, determine whether you will survive everything else. I think the idea, the problem statement can change 10 times. So my advice would be like choose the co-founders who are actually uh, are going to build this with you through thick and thin for their resilience and all the complementary stuff which you bring, and not just skills and logos on a slide deck.
Yeah. Because in the end, a company can pivot multiple times throughout its journey. Changing a founder is much more legally difficult to do so. So definitely
100%.
choose your co-founders wisely, I would say. 100%.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. I want to thank you both for sharing your experiences and insights so openly. I really appreciate it. I hope that today's conversation has given everyone a realistic look into the entrepreneurship journey, the opportunities and the challenges that the startups are currently building, and how Taqaddam can support founders. So we'll be spending the next 30 minutes going through some of the Q&A, seeing how Taqaddam can support you, and then we'll be closing off the webinar. So again, thank you so much, Abdullah and Bhuvan. I really appreciate this time you spent with us here today. Thank you.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much.
wonderful rest of your
Thank
day.
you. Thank you so much, Mariam.
Perfect.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Perfect. We'll be going into a bit more of the Q&A. So I'll open the Q&A section. I'll start answering from the top. and seeing how we can support. So, for full-time founders participating in the program, is any portion of the SAFE funding allowed to cover founder salary, living expenses, or does the program provide separate founder support and stipend? So in terms of the program, usually the way that you are utilizing the fund, you usually build a milestone plan with your lead mentor. So depending on the stage of your company, the industry, etc., you can play around with the milestones set in the beginning of the program. So it's not a clear black and white. It really depends on your company, your justification, what you plan on spending, what milestone you're trying to achieve with this following spend, etc. So it depends from one startup to another, how they're building that structure and what they work on with their agreed mentor in terms of the program. I can see that's one of the only questions I have currently. Majority of the questions have been answered, mashallah, by my colleagues, Sahel and Wasim, through the chat. So I can see, as I told you, they're the background soldiers that are supporting throughout this. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to write it down. We're happy to support if you're going through the process, etc. Okay. When will the announcement of the accepted startups be made? I would say we closed down the application in July 5th. So we take a couple of months to go through the evaluations. As I say, usually at each phase, we will make the announcement. So you receive an email when you are past the online evaluation phase, and then when you pass the interview, all of these you get emails on which stage you've reached. So it's anywhere between over the next month or over the next 3 months, you constantly get updates. When we get the final acceptance of the cohort, I would say it's anywhere between October, November of 2026 is when we do the final acceptance into the boot camp, which is the 1 month virtual boot camp and the final stage of the evaluations before we go into the accelerator sometime in December of this year. So that's what the timeline looks like for this year currently. Does تقدم facilitate any founder matching or co-founder networking initiatives? No, we usually don't. We usually expect you guys to come with the team already created. Your so we don't do any type of co-founder mixing. We do startup mixing, meaning you meet other startups within the cohort or past cohorts, etc. But we don't match you with co-founders. One initiative we're currently exploring, I would say, it's more of a job board and employee matchmaking rather than co-founder. It's because a lot of startups, especially those expanding into Saudi Arabia, are facing issues with hiring within the region, etc. So that's something that we're actively figuring out how to support the startups in and how to connect them. But co-founder is not something we usually do. So a question from Bashir: as a Saudi founder with business incorporated in the UK and expanding to Saudi Arabia in the launch phase, would this be aligned with the cohort profile? Yes. So if you're already established company, you are able to expand, and there is multiple ways or vehicles that you're able to expand within Saudi Arabia. Either as an offshore entity opening an arm within Saudi, or an operating arm, or as a sole proprietor, etc. So the structure of opening a company in Saudi differs from one company to another and depends on what you're trying to achieve and how you can move forward. You don't need to register. So Stefan, I'm gonna assume that you want to register an entity in Saudi before you apply. You don't need to do that in order to apply. If you're still in the process of your earlier stage of the startup, you haven't registered your entity yet, no need to register a certain entity at the moment. I would say the more you go forward, you'll be able to decide, and we're able to guide you by the bootcamp phase, which direction would be the best and how you can move forward. But there's no certain entity type that you need to be registered in order to go into Saudi Arabia. If our MVP is ready by the final acceptance stage, can we still apply for the program? Yes, but you need to your application with the MVP ready. Competition is very high in terms of applying for the program. We usually get over 1,500 applications per year, and only 20 to 25 companies make it to the end of the program. So that I would say is less than 2% of the application funnel. So the more advanced you are, the more traction that you have, which is what I mentioned in terms of criteria of you have a strong team, you have a strong product, you have a scalable business model, you just need the extra push through the program. That's what gives you a higher chance of being accepted, because it really depends on the competition of those who are applying with you, and basically that's it. Are CAS Master's PhD students allowed to take full-time roles in a startup while enrolled? Most probably you're going to have to be part-time. But again, you can have a co-founder that is a full-timer, that is not a CAS student. And this is where we talk about having a complete profile of co-founders within the team. So someone can be part-time if you're a student that is will be graduating maybe in a year, while you have another founder that is more full-time, etc. And that's why I would always look into finding the correct team, finding the correct composition of the team structure that makes sense to help the startup grow. Because again, building a startup is not an easy task, and doing it part-time is even harder. So the more full-time and the more effort that you give to it, is the higher chance that it's going to survive as a company. Okay, can I visit Taqaddam HQ and see how it's going there? Again, we're based in KAUST, in Thual, campus. Usually it's a very closed campus, so unfortunately no open visits are allowed. But we do have a lot of demo days. We do have a lot of content of startups that we've had in the past. We have companies over the last 9 years that you can read more about. If you feel like the program is a good fit, then apply. If not, we're happy to answer any questions directly via email, etc. Do you support startup relocation? So I'm assuming that you say that fully sponsor the incorporation or relocation. We don't. We usually just provide the funding. How you utilize this funding in your startup growth or relocation, that's up to you. But we only provide the funding, which is up to $140,000. And we fully sponsor the startups when we have the in-person events. So during the Jumpstart Weeks and the showcase, but we don't sponsor full relocation into Saudi Arabia. It should be distributed amongst the funding that is provided through the program. Are there any program fees? No, there are no program fees or subscription fees. So good to go. I think that answers that. For international pre-seed startups, is it a requirement to have established revenues or customer base within our home countries? No, I wouldn't say have a specific region where you have your customer base. I would say any type of traction, especially if you're still earlier stage, is good, because again, the traction showcases that the product works and it has demand. So if you have traction within your region or in any other region, even in Saudi, that's a big plus. I would say just having that type of utilization of the platform that showcases that the platform is working and there's a demand for it. In terms of how the MISA license should be structured, really depends. I would talk to a lawyer on that, and when you're in the program, you're able to talk to lawyers to decide how to establish the MISA license, because there's no right or wrong answer. It really depends on what you're trying to achieve, who are your investors, what structure they prefer, etc. So I would say it really depends from one startup to another. Okay, one of our main priorities is understanding the local market dynamics and overcoming language barriers, as we're already bringing our team into Saudi Arabia through NDTP, MCIT, AI Talent Attraction Program, etc. It would be extremely valuable to connect with experienced local operators, business development leads, potential team members who understand the market. We'd be happy to connect with fellow co-founders in the ecosystem. This is exactly what Taqaddam does. So we do have a big network of corporates through KAUST's connections that we're able to support with, such as Aramco, SABIC, other corporates, etc. And of course, we've been doing this for quite a while, and we've graduated multiple startups over the years, and we have a good network of founders and startups. So this is something we definitely do. If an entity in Saudi Arabia will make our application better, I wouldn't necessarily say it will make it better, but it puts you in a different category. Because usually if you're already a local company, you can be earlier stage, and we do treat you in a different manner because you are locally grown, you're building for the region, etc. If you're an international company expanding into the region, I do expect you to have a well-established company in your region or in your country before you decide to expand to another country. So this is why usually international companies expanding into Saudi through the program are usually more later stage. Have already raised funding, have already made some revenue, have already got a good amount of traction in their country before they decide to go into another region and expand into Saudi Arabia. For the application video, if speaking in English affects clarity or confidence, is it better to prioritize clear delivery in Arabic? Whatever you're comfortable with. All our evaluators speak both languages, English and Arabic. So whatever language you're comfortable with, please feel free to utilize that language in the application or the videos. But keep in mind, majority of the program is in English, so you need to be comfortable enough with English in order to proceed with the workshops, etc. Elaborate more on the 40K, 100K funding. Yes. So this year is the first year we're actually implementing a safe note in our funding that we give throughout the program. So the way it's divided into two tranches. The first tranche, the 40K, is going to be given as a safe note to the companies. The terms will be discussed as we move forward into the program and as you come closer to the acceptance. In terms of the 100K funding, that still remains non-dilutive, meaning by the showcase, the 10 startups that are selected by our investors to receive the 100K, that still remains non-dilutive, meaning we won't take any equity on the 100K. The safe is going to be only on the 40K. Solo founders have opportunity. Yes, you do, if you have a good team that's backing you in your startup. Because we've seen in the past, usually solo founders, startups do not survive long enough because building a startup is quite labor intensive, I would say, and it requires another mind to help you go through the challenges, go through the evolution of the startup, etc. So the more you have a team, the more you have a co-founder, the higher chances you're gonna survive as a startup either way. So if you're still looking for a co-founder, I think that's the right time. Best way to look for co-founders is meet like-minded people, go to conferences. I know LEAP is coming up, I would say sometime in August. So heading to these conferences and meeting other people and like-minded people would be very helpful for you. Do we provide offices? So we do have a co-working space in Jeddah that you can utilize during the duration of the program and after you graduate, both you and your employees. In terms of accommodation, no, we don't offer accommodation. We offer only accommodation and logistics coverage when you join us for the in-person aspects of the program, which is the Jumpstart Week and the showcase. We're looking to start a Saudi LLC despite having a legal business entity in our country. When we try to expand our product entity, we're asked for a CR at Saudi. If selected, would تقدم help in the process. So we have a big network of legal entities that you're able to utilize in terms of your expansion. And I know as a startup, usually there's something called a MISA license that you're able to utilize to help waive a lot of the fees of incorporating in Saudi. And only, I would say, universities, accelerators, VCs, programs within the region are able to provide you with this letter to help get that license and waive a lot of the resources. So this is something that we're able to provide as part of Taqaddam. I recently moved from Oman to Riyadh, but my founder is in Syria. Will my co-founder have to fly to Riyadh if we got accepted? So during the in-person aspect, because it is a hybrid program, we do expect at least one co-founder to be available with us in person during the Jumpstart Week and the showcase. However, the rest of the program is on Zoom. And by the way, we're based in Thuwal, which is an hour away drive from Jeddah, and we're not based in Riyadh, which is a common misconception. After submission, if there is any major updates in the team or startup progress, can the applicant share those updates with the selection team? It's preferred that you share or update your application as much as possible. That's why if you're still earlier and there's a lot of changes happening in your startup, I wouldn't submit it right away. Spend some time in the application. You still have some time. Wait until you have enough updates to add to that application before you hit the final submission. rather than just constantly updating. Because again, with everyone sending us multiple updates, it's going to be very hard to catch up. The easiest way is that if everything is linked to your application itself. But there is a very important balance between submitting last minute and then submitting way ahead of time. So I would just submit maybe 2 to 3 days before the deadline, just to avoid any errors in, for example, the submission. If you faced any technical issues, etc., you give our team enough time to support you with these technical issues before you do your final submission, rather than trying to submit half an hour before the deadline and then realizing you ran out of time. So be sure to submit. I would say a few days before the submission deadline to give yourself time for technical issues. Do you accept pre-seed with only an idea detailed and strong background in the field? So pre-seed is fine, but you have to have an MVP, not just an idea or a prototype. So you need to be able to have a product that you're able to take to market. That's the stage we usually look at. If I delete my application and send it back from my co-founder's account, by the way, no need to delete an application. If you send us an email to apply.taqaddam@kaus, we're able, if you already submitted your application, of course, we're able to move your application back to draft and you can make edits. So no need to create multiple accounts and delete and create new accounts, delete and create new applications. You can just edit if you made a mistake and submit it too early. Just send us an email. We'll move your application back to draft and you can continue editing on it. Is there a predefined cap? So the terms are still being worked on and will be specified as we come closer to the acceptance and the program starting date. Would non-Saudi founders be offered help to obtain visa? Yes. So if you were not able to obtain any of the visas, such as like a tourist visa, while in the duration of the program, as you still work on creating your entity, we do support with issuing visa letters through KAUST to help you get access to Saudi, etc., up until you get your company established and up and running. So if you missed the most part of the webinar, the good thing is the webinar is being recorded. We'll be sharing the recording in a follow-up email, I would say in the next 2 days. So everything is recorded. We'll be sure to share it with you. So no need to worry if you've missed any part or if you want to rewatch any part, we've got you covered. If selected, when is the in-person event going to start? It's going to be starting in Q4 of 2026. And this is when we launched the program. So we do have a bit of time until then. I heard that military projects usually have other paths in KSA, but not this program. But in the chat, they said it's okay. So we don't have a specific path or a specific structure for certain industries or certain projects. Usually the program accommodates all industries, all projects, but we don't have like a certain, you could say, pillar specifically for example, health tech, fintech, etc. No, it's usually depends on the cohort composition. We customize the resources and the content according to the full profile of the cohort. So by full time in the startup, meaning that your startup is your job basically, and you don't have another a full-time job on the side. That is what I mean by full-time versus part-time. So I believe these are the majority of the questions. It was truly wonderful speaking with all of you, and I hope that we've answered the majority of your questions and we helped clarify a bit more in terms of the processes of the program, what we offer, what we do. You've heard from a couple of our portfolio startups, etc. We're still there. If you have any further questions that you believe were not addressed in this webinar, please share with us an email in apply.taqaddam@kaust.edu.sa. We're happy to guide you through the process. The application is very straightforward. Just be sure to submit all the required fields, etc. We receive a lot of questions in terms of the video question. Be careful, the video question is usually recorded on spot on the platform. So once you start, you're not able to stop. So be sure to be prepared to answer the questions. What's going to happen is basically once you start the question, you will see a pop-up with what the question is. You'll have some time to prepare, and then the recording will start automatically, and then you can stop the recording when you finished answering. And this is how the video question is structured moving forward. So just be sure to spend some time in the application, go through the questions one by one, add all the required details, add all evidence. I would say the more information, the better. Because again, we do go into a lot of details with it when exploring or evaluating the startups. So whatever you think might be useful to help us understand what you're doing, understand where you are in terms of stage, in terms of fundraising, etc., please be sure to add it. And we look forward to receiving all of your applications. We wish you all the best of luck, and we hope you have a great rest of your evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful day ahead.